Hi YouTube, this is Raven. I'm a survivor of a 16-year marriage to a covert narcissist, and now I'm in a high conflict divorce from a covert narcissist. And I've done a couple of videos called Narcs Are Ridiculous, and this one's going to be titled Narcs Are Ridiculous Part 3. And if you're in a high conflict divorce, or you've in a high conflict family like this, a lot of times, they're inappropriate, and especially around the holidays, your narc's family is going to be inappropriate. And my husband's narc family was no exception to the rule. Anytime we had holiday gatherings, they all had to get drunk. I mean, it was just, amazing how much alcohol they consumed. And there was one Christmas I talked about in one video about how my narc mother-in-law put egg cement all over my cabinets because she was drunk. Well, that Christmas I, was hosting Christmas, and so I was like, okay, they want wine. I went and bought 2 huge magnums, these huge bottles of wine. And I was like, okay, that's probably enough. There's like 10 people, Within 30 minutes, the 2 bottles are gone. And I'm like, what do you mean they're gone? It's like, oh my God, they've drank that much already? It's like, wow. But, that they had to drink that because the holidays were so stressful because my mother-in-law was just so high strung. She didn't celebrate Christmas like the rest of the normal world celebrates Christmas. She had to go all out. And by going all out, she had to decorate her house from top to bottom. I mean, not just like a Christmas tree and some lights. It looked like Santa Claus had barfed all over her house. Or that, I used to say it looked like someone set off a Christmas bomb. It would take her hours and hours and hours just to get the decorations out of the basement. She had a full basement. It was full of Christmas crap. And, it was every single square inch of the house was decorated to the point that you go to the bathroom and there's like a toilet paper holder that you're like pulling toilet paper out of Santa Claus's ass, to go to the bathroom. It's that bad. And, at Christmas time, I was the odd man out because my brother-in-law had married a Jewish girl. So, she celebrated Hanukkah with her family, but then that meant she was free for Christmas. But with my family, my family celebrated Christmas, so, I had to divide the holiday between families, and so, that always made me the bad guy, like, oh, why can't you be here Christmas morning? It's like, well, because I have family too. I might want to spend Christmas morning with my family. But, Christmas morning was interesting because instead of, you had to buy presents for everybody. But instead of, everybody opening their presents at one time, they wanted to put a pile of presents in front of each person, and each person had to take turns opening their gifts while you're on show. It's an audience. And, you're opening it up like, oh, thank you for this, thinking piece of crap. Like, oh, thank you for this, And, you're trying to look like you appreciate whatever they gave you. Well, they would do this, and they would start with the youngest child, and the youngest child had to open everything all the way up to the oldest. And, so the youngest child will be sitting there, pulling a little bit of the paper up because, they're like 1-year-old, and it's like, what am I supposed to be doing here? And the other kids are sitting there with their pile just like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. They're like, like they need a fix. They're like addicts, and they need their drug fix, and they're just holding their presents like, please, 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 hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And so it would take forever. I mean, forever, and we go through, and, they would finally get to me. And this was, I always got like crappy gifts. I mean, it was horrible. I would see my sister-in-law get like jewelry or, earrings or whatever. And I would open it up, and I got one year a snowman kit. I'm like, what's this? It was a fake carrot and, some fake pieces of coal and a scarf and some fake sticks. I was like, it's a snowman kit. And I'm like, it hardly ever snows here. It snows enough maybe to make a footprint. And when it does snow enough to make a footprint, oh my God, the entire state shuts down. I mean, it's a state of emergency because, there's enough snow that, oh my God, it might actually last until noon, when it melts. So, if we have enough snow to make a snowman, that's, a pretty significant snowfall. Yeah. And so, like, another year I got something that was eyeballs and a nose and a mouth. I'm like, well, what is this? It's a tree face. I'm like, a tree face. Okay. And, but I didn't have a tree. We lived in one of these little cookie cutter neighborhoods where, they bulldoze down all the trees, they build the cookie cutter houses, and then they put, little trees, the same tree in everybody's yard. So, I didn't have a tree for a tree face, But like the worst gift that my narc mother-in-law gave me one year was this jogging suit. That was this velvet black jogging suit that had neon music notes all over it, and a music staff, and, like neon green and pink and whatever on this black background. It was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. And she'd gotten it because she knew that I was an artist, but I'm also a musician. And so, of course, that's the best gift ever. And I'm like, oh my God, she expects me to wear this thing. It looked like something that even like a little Jewish grandma in Boca Raton who's sitting there on her back porch, with a fan, wouldn't even be wearing this, And this is horrible, but that year, my parents' house burned down on New Year's Day, and I told her, it's like, oh, yeah, I accidentally left it at my parents' house. I know, this is horrible. I shouldn't have said that, but, I was trying to figure out how in the hell I'm going to get rid of this thing. But what was really, inappropriate was that, my narc mother-in-law would go to a jewelry store, and she would pick out hundreds of dollars worth of jewelry, from bracelets to earrings to, that's my cat. I don't know why cats want to get into YouTube videos, but they do. And, she would pick out hundreds of dollars worth of jewelry, and then my narc father-in-law would go and pick from the list, and he would give her pieces of jewelry. And, she would open it up like, oh, it's exactly what I wanted. How did you know? And, oh, help me put it on my wrist. Oh, come here. And we have to sit there and watch, his tongue go down her throat. It's like, oh. And so then, she would do it again. She'd open up another one, because she'd get like half a dozen of these things, like, oh, the pendant that I've wanted forever. She'd put it around her neck, and then they do it again, making out. This would go on for a good 10 or 15 minutes. We all had to sit there and watch, so they would flaunt their love for each other. And, sometimes even when they got drunk, at Christmas, when they're drinking the 2 bottles of Magnum wine, they would start talking about their sex life, about how they had the greatest sex life ever. And it just got to a point where, we're driving home, and I'm telling douchebag, it's like, you need to tell your parents to tone it down, because I don't want to hear about their sex life. Oh, you're just jealous that my parents have such a good relationship. And I'm not jealous, I'm disgusted. It's gross. And I said, every time, they're doing these little makeout sessions, and they're talking about having sex, at lunchtime when he comes home, all I hear and see in my head is, oh, give it up to me, you pot-bellied stud. And my narc's like, oh my God, don't ever do that. Don't do my mom's voice again. I said, well, now you know how I feel. But, and they did this, and because they had to flaunt, and I told him, it's like, I don't think they have a sex life. I think they're doing this just for our benefit. And, now that I know about narcs, I think that's true. That, narcs, they put on a show. Well, the worst inappropriate family gathering was what I called the Summer of Love. And what it was is that, there he goes. What it was is that my brother-in-law had married a Jewish girl, and her family was normal. They liked spending time together. They went on trips together, and he wanted that for his family. But of course, his family is, they're narcissists. So, that's not going to happen. But, he arranged for all of us to go stay in this cabin up in the mountains. And so, we went, and, we go there, and there was an amusement park with a train. And it's this old 1800s train. It's the real thing. It's a real locomotive, that runs off coal. So my son is just obsessed with trains. He's like 3 years old at this point, and he's obsessed. He loves trains. And, my narc mother-in-law is like, we're going to ride the train last. Let's go do other things first. And I'm like, no, this is not what you do. When you go to an amusement park, you head straight to the back of that amusement park. You get in line for the fastest, tallest Giga Coaster or whatever it is you want to ride. You get in line for that. And you ride that first. Oh, no, let's go do other things. So, of course, every time the train leaves the station, got a cat growing on my shoulder. Every time the train leaves the station, My son's like, train, go away. Train, not come back. Train, go away. He's like, no, son, it's okay. It's okay. We're going to ride the train. And it's every single time, and you can hear it. Train. You know, and she doesn't understand why, you know, why my son is just, you know, losing it. And so, you know, we finally ride the train, and, you know, the kids are tired. So we go back to the cabin. Of course, you know, this cabin is not large enough for me and my mother-in-law, even though it had like 6 bedrooms. It was huge. And, you know, she's like, we need to go do something. I'm like, no, let's just stay here and rest. No, we need to go do something. And I was like, my narc, you know, of course, he's got to show off at this point, you know, and pretend that he's like the world's greatest dad. I'll watch the children. You go, sweetheart. Have fun, you know, and that was just for her benefit. And so, you know, she says, you know, we're going to go look at art. There are real artists here in the park. And, you know, there was an art festival, meaning there were real artists that I'm not a real artist, you know, because I don't have a tent and I'm not showing my art. But, you know, so, you know, we go around, you know, I have to deal with looking at real artists all afternoon. And so finally the next day, I'm ready to leave, you know, and we're sitting there and I'm drinking my coffee and I set it down and all of a sudden my coffee cup disappears. I'm like, what's going on? We have to leave this cabin better than the way we found it. You know, even though we're paying for someone to come in and clean the cabin after we leave, you know, she's got to make sure that we show them that we're better than everyone else who's ever rented this cabin. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? If it gets me the hell away from her at this point, good, let's do it. Let's hurry up. So, you know, we leave, and on the way out, I tell my husband, it's like, you know, there's this restaurant I've always wanted to go to. And it was this beautiful restaurant that's on the side of a hill, on the side of the mountain. And sometimes, you know, it has this beautiful view of the valley. And the clouds sometimes will settle in so low that you'll look out and there's just this blanket of clouds. You know, it's beautiful. And so he's like, okay, yeah, we'll go do that. So, you know, we went there for lunch. And while we're sitting there at lunch, you know, I didn't realize I was being set up. But while we're sitting there at lunch, he says, I'm glad we left when we did. Mom said that I look like a cancer patient with my weight loss, that I look terrible. And, you know, I had seen him. He was trying to lose weight. He'd only lost about 20 pounds at this point. He needed to lose a whole lot more because he was fat. But he had been working his tail off. You know, he would get up, you know, at 5 o'clock in the morning and go run. And so, you know, that really upset me that she had said these things about him. So, you know, I'm sitting there, I'm just so mad. I'm like, I can't believe she said that. Well, at this point, I think he saw them pull up in the parking lot. And he had set me up. He had told them where we were going. And I hear in the background, we chose the same restaurant. I'm so mad. I slam my napkin down on the table. I get up and I turn around. And I'm like, how dare you tell him he looks like a cancer patient when he's been working his ass off? You know, what kind of person does that, you know, to their son? She just shrivels at that point. Like, oh, how could you have said these things to me? You know, and so she turns around, she leaves, and I'm like, oh, I'm not done at this point. You know, I'm on the warpath at this point, and I'm going after her, and I'm like, you get back here and you talk to me. How dare you say those things? What kind of mother does that to her son? You know, and I'm like, you get back here, you get back here. Well, you know, she gets out of the restaurant as fast as she can. Well, at that point, I stop, and I realize the restaurant's gotten quiet. And, you know, this is a restaurant that has live music. The live music has stopped. And everyone else is staring at me. I'm like, oh my God, this is like a scene from a movie. And I turn around, I kind of slink back to the table, and my narc was sitting there with a shit-eating grin. And he said, no one's ever done that for me. You know, like, and I didn't realize I had just given him a huge dose of supply, and I had been set up. And I didn't realize that. I had been set up to look crazy. And that's exactly how I looked. You know. And, you know, now I was the inappropriate one. But, you know, if you're in a high conflict divorce, or you're, you know, married to or dating someone with a high, you know, with a personality disorder, you have to realize that you're not crazy. They're the crazy ones. But they're going to set you up to try and make you look crazy. And you have to remember, you know, to keep your sanity, that you are not the crazy one. You're actually the same person. And, you know, sometimes you just got to laugh, you know, what people do. Right? Right, Jasper? Yeah. Sometimes you got to laugh because narcs are ridiculous. Well, that's all for now. Be vigilant, be safe, take care.